What's up, everybody? And today I'm bringing you another video ranking weapons after the mid-season update, and today I'm going to do SMGs. Just like the AR and LMG video, I'm going to go over the weapons first and then go over the stats so I don't spoil which weapons I chose. But I won't waste your time. Let's go ahead and get into my top 5 SMGs after the mid-season update. Okay, so we'll start off with number 5. I had to throw in this OTS or OT's 9. It doesn't count in my top 5 because it's got a severe damage drop off and it's only got a 40 round mag, so it's got a lot of problems the Fennec does. And since I don't play solos and duos, I don't want those problems. I don't want ammo reload problems. Just like you'll see the Mac 10 not on this list because of its high fire rate. Its damage per mag isn't high. It just fires fast, so it kills fast, but you're reloading all the time. And I put myself in a lot of bad situations, and I'd rather not reload all the time because I have a fast fire rate or not a big enough mag or whatever. And so you won't see the Mag 10 on here. The OTS 9 is only here because it kills so fast, so close. So if you're pushing buildings and you're playing solos and duos, it is usable. I'll quick go into that loadout. Grew Suppressor, Task Force Barrel, Tiger Team Spotlight, Spetsnaz, 40 round because it's the biggest one, and KGB Skeletal Stock. Same builds all the SMGs. I'll go into depth when I go over my actual top 5 about attachments. But I had to throw this OTS 9 in here as a little bonus gun because it does just kill so fast, and I do love it. Anyways, as you saw before that, my number 5 is the Bullfrog. The Bullfrog got messed with again. I still think it's a good SMG. I still have a lot of fun with it. And the mag size is always an added bonus. Plus, when you mix in a headshot, it still kills pretty quickly. We got the Grew Suppressor for the damage range, the bullet velocity, the vertical recoil control, and to stay off the mini-map. We got the Task Force Barrel for the vertical and horizontal recoil control, and the bullet velocity and damage range increase, just like on every gun. We have the Tiger Team Spotlight for movement speed and aim walking move speed. We have the 65 round mag, which you can drop for the 50. We'll get into that in a second. But we have the 65 round mag for the most rounds without getting ADS penalty, and then we have the KGB Skeletal Stock. The SMG loadouts I think have a little more flexibility than the ARs or LMG loadouts because I'm never running an underbarrel, and you can play with the attachments a little more depending on the SMG. Like for the Bullfrog, it does come with 50 normally, so I think you can ditch the 65, and if you want more movement, you can go Bruiser Grip, and you'll get an additional movement speed and some hip fire accuracy with that. So you could go Bruiser Grip if you want to stick with the 50. SMGs already have really fast ADS, but you could go Grew Elastic Wrap. It does hurt your sprint to fire time, which isn't ideal for an SMG, and it hurts ADS firing and firing move speed. Even though we get helped that with other attachments, it does give you the best ADS and good aiming stability, even though I'm not worried about it up close. Otherwise, you could go Serpent Wrap, and you do lose a little sprint to fire time, but you get an increase in ADS. Or if you only want a small increase in ADS, which will be not too noticeable because SMGs are already so fast, you can go Speed Tape, and you'll get a slightly better ADS. But that's if you want to stick with the 50 round mag. I like having the extra 65 because I play trios and quads, and I'll take the extra 15 without an ADS penalty. The other change you could make if you wanted to ditch the 50, if you still don't like the iron sights, you go Microflex LED. But if you want to keep the build like this, but you are okay with the sprint to fire time since SMGs are fast, you could go Spetsnaz PKM stock, and here you only get the ADS move speed and the aim walking speed, but you also get fire and move speed with the Spetsnaz PKM. If you're just worried about sprint to fire and you don't want to hurt your hip fire accuracy as much, you can go the no stock, but I still prefer the KGB stock over all of them. And just like ARs and LMGs, our loadouts are pretty much going to be the same, so I won't be going into depth moving forward. And then same perks, EOD or Double Time, Overkill, and Amped. I use Semtex, but you can use Throwing Knives or you can use Thermites. And I use Heartbeat, but you could use any of the damaging tacticals like Stuns, Flashes, or Gas Grenades. Number 4, we have the Milano. They nerfed it again, but it's still really good. It's still got good damage range. It still kills fairly quick, especially when you mix in headshots. And it's still a good SMG. And the iron sights are really clean. The recoil is still very low. Same build, Agency Suppressor, Task Force Barrel, Tiger Team Spotlight, 55 round mag, and Raider stock. this one, I believe, only comes with 30 standard. So we don't have as much flexibility here because we need to keep the ammo with mostly playing trios and quads. Solos, you can get away with getting rid of the ammo and do the changes we talked about on the Bullfrog. Otherwise, the only change I would really see making is going from Raider stock to SAS combat stock for the same reason as changing the stocks on the Bullfrog. And then we have the same perks, lethal, and tactical options. Then number 3, the very slept on PPSh. Good damage drop off. Really, really fast ADS. Just like all the SMGs, not really any recoil. The iron sights I don't think are as easy to use as the other SMGs, but it's got a really good time to kill. Really, really, really good ADS. And I just think it's an overall slept on weapon. We have the exact same attachments. I know some people go 71 round drum because they don't think 55 is quite enough. I think 55 is enough, and you don't lose the ADS penalty, and it's still quicker to reload than the 71 round mag. I don't like the iron sights as much, so I would consider dropping maybe the Raider stock or probably the Tiger Team Spotlight and Microflex, but I can deal with the iron sights. So once again, the only change I would make would be going from the Raider to the Spetsnaz PKM, and if you're using the blueprint, it does go along with the blueprint. But same loadout as all the other SMGs. This is a criminally slept on one, and I think more people should try it out, and I think people would use it more because it's an insanely good SMG that nobody's using. But that moves into my top 2, where the builds are going to be a little bit different than these last 3, 4 if you count the OTS. Because this one, now we're switching off of Cold War. We got the Modern Warfare MP5. This gun was not touched in the most recent update, so it's moved up in its effectiveness, and I think this is one of the best SMGs. I think you could switch this or my number 1 slot either way, depending on your preferences. But if you like to hipfire, this gun's definitely back strong. I have it built mostly for hipfire, but I don't really hipfire too much. I like to have the habit of ADS, maybe starting hipfire, or if somebody jumps past you with a lower track, you can un-ADS, and this thing will still hipfire really well. So I have the monolithic suppressor. This saves us an attachment. This gives us both the barrel and the sound suppressor. Otherwise, you'd go monolithic and probably no barrel, which I see some people do. But you get the sound suppression and the bullet velocity all in one. Merc foregrip, that gives you recoil control and hipfire accuracy, and it doesn't hurt your ADS as much as I believe the operator does. But this helps your hipfire the most, and this MP5 is still the hipfire king, so we do want to help the hipfire some. And then you go 45 round mag. It's the biggest mag. This 10mm auto 30 round mag is just not good. 45's not really enough as it is, but you can make it work for sure. And then here's where I differ from a lot of people's MP5 builds. I have the TAC laser. If you hipfire a lot, definitely go the 5mW laser. It helps your hipfire accuracy and your sprint to fire speed. But if you ADS like me, got to go the TAC laser, get the best ADS. It doesn't hurt your hipfire, and this thing still hipfires like a beast. But if you hipfire more than you ADS, definitely go the 5mW laser. And then you go, I go F-tap collapsible for the aim down sight speed and the movement speed. I would use this hipfire build or not. You can go with any of these stocks if you like, but nothing has a better ADS than the F-tap collapsible, and it helps your movement. I know some people ditch stock altogether because of the 45 round mag. They'll ditch stock and they'll go for sleight of hand. I would rather have movement speed, escape, and then rechow and re-engage. But if you stay in people's faces, the sleight of hand is the other option here. And that's going to lead us to our number 1 option. If you saw my last video, you probably can tell what it was. I mentioned it. And it ends up on so many of my loadout videos. And that is the Cold War MP5. The Cold War MP5 is going to be built out. Agency suppressor. Tiger Team Spotlight. This field agent is not supposed to be here. That is supposed to be Bruiser. This is purely built for movement. We got the agency suppressor for bullet velocity and damage range. You can go barrel, but you're only going to get so much more damage range. I believe if you go with this barrel instead of a movement attachment, it gives you like a little less than a meter, maybe a meter of damage drop off. So we focus mostly on movement here because of the damage drop off. But you want to stay off the minimap anyways. And the sound suppression hurts your damage range, even though it helps your ADS. It's an SMG, so it already has quick ADS. So we go with the agency suppressor here. You will get slightly better ADS and sprint to fire speed here, but you lose the effective damage range, and a gun that already doesn't have a lot of effective damage range, you definitely don't want to lose it. I think it's a 25% net between the two. And then you go Bruiser Grip for movement speed and hipfire accuracy. The Tiger Team Spotlight for movement speed, aim walking speed. 50 round drum. I don't think the fast mag is worth it. It's negligible reload time, and it doesn't change the ammo. And then just like the other guns, the only thing I would change on the load is maybe SAS combat stock, if that's what you prefer. But I think this is the best SMG in Warzone still. The Modern Warfare MP5 could be switched here. It does kill slightly faster, but the movement speed on this build is insane, and you'll just be skating on people. Just like last video, I'm going to move on to the data segment now. But if you don't want to watch that, I understand, and thank you for watching up to this point. My social media is down linked below. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And let's go ahead and move on to the data portion. Alright, we're now over here on our favorite website, True Game Data. I put in all the SMGs. I wouldn't put in the OTS-9 in here. It doesn't have attachments yet, so it's not a great comparison. But as you can see, it does kill the fastest. It does have that reload problem I talked about, but it does kill the fastest, and then it drops off super hard, and it's not competitive with anything. I believe if you look at headshots, now it's not even the fastest. It ties for fastest with the Cold War MP5, and then it still drops off super hard and ends up pretty much losing to everything in the SMG range. Stomach, now it's back to being the fastest with a super hard drop off, and I believe it's the same for extremities. Fastest, super hard drop off. So you can see, I mean, unless you're really pushing people's faces, it's not great, and the mag makes it not great for trios and quads, but I do love that gun. So let's go ahead and remove it and compare again. Alright, so now we see if we go chest shots, the Modern Warfare MP5 does kill the fastest by a decent percentage, and then the Cold War MP5, and they drop off hard, and then they're not really competitive again. The Bullfrog is the slowest in the primary SMG range, and then when it drops off, it's only beating out the MP5s, but it gets competitive as you get a little bit farther out. The PPSh has a late drop off, not as far as the Milano, but once they both drop off, it stays competitive in the range. And this isn't a huge chart here. I mean, we're talking 0.1 second difference here, so it's close, it's competitive. And then when we're gonna go headshots, and this is why the Milano doesn't rank higher than the PPSh or the Modern Warfare guns. When you put in headshots, it's losing out to everything. The only thing it doesn't lose out to is this small range here after the Modern Warfare MP5 has dropped off. But if you're hitting all headshots, it's losing out to everything at all ranges. So that keeps it from being ranked a little bit higher. It just has such a slow rate of fire. It does the most headshot damage of all of these, but its slow rate of fire really hurts it, and it just can't keep up. All of these have, I think, at least 200 round per second, faster fire rate. When you look at stomach shots, the Milano, once again, in the close SMG ranges is the worst, and doesn't beat anything till everything starts dropping off, and then when you get to the second drop off, it's only beating the Modern Warfare MP5. It never beats the Modern Warfare MP5, the Bullfrog, or the PPSh, or the Cold War MP5 in the ranges where you're really going to be using SMGs. And then extremities, it gets back towards the middle, and everything's close to where you had with the chest shot rankings. And then if you just look at the base stat comparison, you can see the Milano does have the highest headshot damage right here. It's 49, tied with the Modern Warfare MP5 and more than the Cold War MP5. But it's beating, and it destroys the PPSh and beats out the Bullfrog. But its fire rate is only 576 RPM versus 854, 798, 904 on the PPSh, and 751 on the Bullfrog. So because of that, it doesn't kill as fast, not even nearly as fast in your headshots, because the closest it is just under, it's like 275 rounds per second slower than the Bullfrog. and 223 or 222 slower than the Modern Warfare MP5. And those are the two slowest on the list. So it's not touching the fire rate, otherwise it would rank up higher, probably ahead of the PPSh and behind the two MP5s. When you look at the summary stat comparison, what I really like here is the movement speed for the Cold War MP5 is 0.3 seconds faster than the Modern Warfare MP5. Meters per second, sorry. 0.3 meters per second faster than the Modern Warfare MP5, and it's faster than the other three. Not by as much. It's about 0.21 faster than the Bullfrog, and is extremely close to the Milano. But it has the fastest movement speed when you build it out like that. If you built the other SMGs more like that without the barrel, they'd be probably more competitive, at least the Milano and the PPSh. But it's got the best movement speed the way you typically build the SMGs. And it's got the second fastest sprint to fire time. The Bullfrog sprint to fire time is absolutely nutty. This is extremely good. This is one of the best. And when you look at the ADS time, the PPSh beats out the Modern Warfare MP5 that has the tac laser on it by 2 milliseconds, which isn't a whole lot, but it destroys the Milano. It destroys the Cold War MP5 and destroys the Bullfrog in ADS. No, and the sprint to fire time, the ADS, and the movement speed are all important factors. And the Cold War MP5 doesn't have the fastest ADS movement speed, but it blows away the MP5's movement speed by over a half meter a second. And it ties the Bullfrogs, which these are all good ADS move speeds, these Cold War guns. So let's go ahead and jump over to JGOD's spreadsheet, and we'll just compare some data over there. All right, and thankfully the close range TTK is over on the left, so I don't have to move my camera up into that top right corner. But if you look here, the Modern Warfare MP5 does have the fastest time to kill. Even when you mix in one headshot, it's got a 451 until it's damage drop, of course. The 451's beating out the Cold War MP5, beating out the OTS. Even though that's only if you mix in a headshot, because the OTS headshot damage is terrible. But when you look at the TTK, the OTS is the fastest. And then you have the Bullfrog, when you mix in one headshot, is a lot more competitive. It still gets beat out by the Modern Warfare and the Cold War MP5s until it drops off. And then the Cold War MP5 is losing out. The Modern Warfare MP5 is losing out because they just drop off so hard. The Psychov Auto could have snuck in there. True Game Day doesn't have the pistols in there, so I didn't throw that on there. And I like having the SMGs. I just don't necessarily love the way the Psychov shoots unless I have to use it, so I didn't include it in my loadouts either. The PPSh is way down here at 595. I don't know how JGOD has it sorted, but it's beaten out the Bullfrog. And poor LC10's all the way down here. But he's got it all the way down here, but it doesn't have a hard damage drop-off. It goes out pretty far, and even the far damage drop-off is good. These are just numbers visualized. The Milano here, it's just no damage drop-off outside of 15 meters, which is great, but that slow fire rate hurts. Its theoretical TTK is 521, which is towards the top, but that slow fire rate kills it. Despite it being the third out of all the weapons that I put on my list, I still can't quite rank it over the PPSh because the PPSh has the faster fire rate and it's more forgiving. But you can see these numbers here. There's not quite as much to go into as the LMGs because the headshot and damage drop-offs don't make as much of a difference. It's just good to have some of the numbers visualized here. But if this video was helpful to you, I do appreciate you sticking through the data. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. My social medias are linked down below. I'll see you for dance. Get fried. Have a good day. Bye.